Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Spencer here, and we've got another week in Niche Pursuits news, and not a week goes by and there is like monumental news just all the time. And of course, I've got Jared, my co-host, here with me. Jared, another big week of news, isn't it?
I mean, there's big weeks and then there's this week. I think
Yeah.
as we get into the news this week, I mean, man, it's a week in news. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so big, in fact, that we can't handle it by ourselves. So we had to bring in an expert. We've got Jeff Coyle here with us from MarketMuse. Jeff, how you doing?
Hi, Spencer. Hey, Jared. Looking forward to talking about this wild and wacky week, which has kind of become the norm now, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah. Every week when we record, we think, there's not going to be big news next week, though. And sure enough, here we are. And so, side note, Jeff and I were just hanging out in Costa Rica just a couple of weeks ago. So good to see you back in the U.S., Jeff.
Another one of that good looking. Yeah.
We're working really hard, okay?
That's right.
It was a lot of work. We got a lot done. I did a lot. I got a lot done that week. It was amazing. I think it's just getting sleep regular for a while has such a huge impact. So yeah.
Yeah, we were definitely busy. You must have got more work done than I did, but I will say I was busy having a good time. So it was a lot of fun. Yes, yeah, Costa Rica, highly recommended. So with that, let's jump into the news.
Before we jump into the podcast, I wanted to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Search Intelligence. Here's a short clip of Ferry from Search Intelligence showing you how their agency built digital PR links to a client's website.
This is how we landed massive links for a client in The Sun, a DR90 website, and many other UK news websites. We have used freely available data from YouGov to simply find out what the nation's favorite car brand is and which brands people love the most. Of course, Rolls-Royce came out on top, Aston Martin second, and Jaguar third. We put these insights in a short email and sent it to journalists that write about cars and to national news desks on behalf of our client. Within a few days, our client got featured in all the Suns, as well as many regional newspaper sites in the UK, gaining DR90 links to their leasing comparison website. YouGov website is full of unlimited PR stories with data already available for free. All you have to do is to start researching their data and start asking the data questions. You will be surprised of the unlimited PR campaigns that you will find there that can help you build massive exposure and links to your or your clients' websites. I hope this video is helpful and inspirational.
If you want similar link building PR campaigns for your website, head to search-intelligence.co.uk and get in touch with them now.
So this week, just yesterday, was the big Google I/O event where they announce all their latest technology, all their new changes, things that they're coming out with. So there's several things that maybe aren't directly applicable to, search engine results and bloggers. But let's focus on specifically what was announced and what was shared as it relates to sort of AI search results. And they did finally announce that, hey, there is new Google search generative experience. And so let me just share my screen here real quick. We always do this. All right, screen, we have got, yes, this is just an article on Search Engine Land, the new Google search generative experience. Here's what it looks like, right? So Barry Schwartz always covering all the search engine news for us. And he provided, a couple of screenshots. So we can kind of see this here on the screen. This is what it's going to look like very soon, apparently. You do a search, and then at the top, here in the green, here is the generative AI. It gives you an answer, it looks like. Down below, it's got some follow-up questions that can go on and generate more AI-based results. And then it does look like it has, at least in this example, 3 links that you can click on and go over to some blogs and read more details. And then below, it looks like your standard search engine results pages. So with that, Jeff, let's bring you in. What are your thoughts on this change? How does it impact bloggers?
Well, I have to say something snarky to start when you're looking at search results because, we're looking at a Barry page and, the snark comes when you look at that first change. But first thing I think about is, there's the field of information retrieval, right, is about finding stuff out of a database, right? But we're not looking at information retrieval. We're looking at someone typing in a wildly complicated query
Right.
and getting back kind of a book report on that query.
Right.
And so this is a whole different interaction. It's not about someone searching for something and Google providing they're saying the intent of this query is likely simple. So I'm going to provide a simple response, like a featured snippet or an instant answer, right? So what is the capital of North Dakota? Well, Bismarck. It's one, but maybe you also want to know a big guide to North Dakota. Maybe you want to know more about it. So I'm going to provide you other next step opportunities. This is a different experience. So when I look at this, I think of it's almost training a new behavior. And the big question I would have for y'all, is do you think this is the behavior that people want? Right?
Yeah, I don't know. Is this you want people typing in, big long sentences all the time and getting back these types of results? I don't know.
Or are they capable of even typing
Right.
in that sentence and knowing that that's like is that intuitive? So just think about the counterpart here is should I go to Bryce Canyon or Arches National Parks? Right? Okay. Now I'm gonna. That's a less explicit intent. Now I just type in Bryce Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
What's my intent? What's the experience of generative AI if I just type in Bryce Canyon? That's when this starts to become a product management discussion versus kind of an exhibition of capabilities.
Right. So do you think that this type of AI result is going to be very limited? Like only certain queries are going to actually pull up a generative AI result? Or do we know?
The tips that I've gotten before Google I/O released were that absolutely it's going to be intent specific. But the clarification points on that, I don't know. That's what
Yeah.
I haven't gotten the when and the why. But,
Right.
in January, I believe someone asked me, they're like, "Do you think Google's going to win this?" Right? And I said, "Well, their history has been that they understand intent very well. Sometimes you get a map pack. Sometimes you get a knowledge graph. Sometimes you get a GMB, Google My Business profile. Sometimes you get people also ask, and the answer for them is to truly know when this intent and when this experience is going to be the right experience. And that's what I think is being shown most uniquely here is them saying like, the long tail better than anybody, Spencer. When someone's going ultra long tail, is that this answer? What other intents might they surface? And you just show us another example. So yeah, talk through this. Yeah.
Yep. Here's just another example that Barry shared, right? Bluetooth speaker for a pool party. This is, a little bit shorter of a query, clearly, but it has shopping results in it, right?
Yeah.
So this is what's interesting is that it actually shows the AI result above some of the shopping results here, and but still has what appears to be, 3 blog examples, on the right-hand side, sort of that, I don't know what you call that, sort of this pack on the right there. And so, yeah, it looks like it's going to look very different depending on the type of query, right? Is it going to have shopping results in it? Is it going to have more ads next to it? I have to imagine. They didn't show us where all the ads show up just yet, but there's going to be ads, right? They got to make their money here above the fold somewhere. Right? If it's not shopping results, there's still going to be ads somewhere, would be my thought.
So here's the question, right? Are those 3 posts, they're representing smartly by the person designing this one. By the way, the previous one, whoa, that's a long query. There's a lot there. I don't know about that wackadoodle query, but this is much more specific, right? So now I've got 3 posts that exist elsewhere on the web that are representing the buyer journey somewhat, right?
Right.
And I then have the product evaluation part of the buyer journey shown, right? And that's it. So I guess the questions would be, what about the people who provide that experience on their site currently? So what about the person who has the JBL Flip as their best Bluetooth speaker for a pool party? What if the sources on that top right pack, that's all the value that they provided? So that becomes the and then when you click on that JBL Flip, is that an affiliate link?
Yeah, exactly. Where does this go? Right? Is that going to a shopping pay, a Google Shopping result, or to JBL directly, or is it going to the blog post that maybe is pulled from one of these 3 blogs? Right? Like, is it saying, hey, here's the results that kind of the internet is recommending. So we don't know exactly where these links go, right? How that operates quite yet.
And who's to blame, right? So this is the other dichotomy, right? It's like featured snippets. They have a clear source. It's a snippet, right? You're providing recommendations as part of a buyer journey. If it comes from an ad server, right? If it comes from shopping or an ad server, the advertiser is clearly to blame, and then there's a quality standard managing the ad product, right? In this case, if you click on, what is it, superaudiofuntime.com, right? Whatever that is, I can't read it from here, and they give you the top speakers for a pool party, the author is, and the owner of that. But what if the JBL Flip isn't a great speaker for a pool party?
Right.
What if it breaks in saltwater pools?
Yeah, and it gets even more difficult for Google, right? Potential like PR nightmare, when you start moving a little bit more away from products and I guess even products. It could definitely be some bad recommendations, but more to just bad information, right? Especially if you're making decisions based on this. I think, at least I've heard, that Google is going to not provide AI results in certain things like finance and health, like medical stuff.
Oh,
right?
YMYL.
Yeah, probably so. YMYL, simply because you get into some scary territory where people can make real life decisions based on this, and they're basically saying they're not ready for their AI to do that, I think.
Yep. And I guess the expansion of this is like, I love that they kept sources. And I mean, the SEO community was like dying at some of those early specs because they didn't have sources in them. And they're like, wait a second. I mean, you've got some sources in here. It's going to be this implementation, imagine being an SEO in this situation. You are fighting to be part of that pack. You want to be in that pack. So, I mean, it's kind of got that similar feel. And then when you draw down that, you're going to have prompts for other, kind of like a people also ask, but continuing this education, information, or buying journey. I want to be there. I want to write a great article that's going to satisfy that prompt and that prompt and that prompt, and basically do what Google wants you to do, which is build this beautiful cluster of content that covers all the intents. And some people here have built software to solve for.
That's right.
And so that, to me, I mean, it's kind of like Google's coaching you even more about what it wants, and that's always beautiful because it's higher quality. But you see that secondary experience there, right?
Right. Yep.
It's so beautiful. How do you guys see that secondary experience?
Jared, what do you think? We're looking at sort of a GIF here. I can't expand it any further, unfortunately. But, you've got your first result, and then you can click, ask a follow-up, or, it gives you an additional prompt.
Yeah, so many thoughts, honestly. I mean, experience-wise, I think that this is a significant upgrade in the way that people interact with the SERPs. I mean, we know that Google, like, there's been growing sentiment that the experience of a viewer in the SERP has gotten very muddy as Google's introduced so many different things. Like ads have become so much more prominent, and now they're slide in. People also ask featured snippets, video snippets, rich snippets, site links. They're playing around. So certainly we know, like, if we're just being a reader and a viewer here and not putting our SEO hat on, like the experience in the SERPs has been going downhill. That's kind of a broad-based statement. So experience-wise, this feels a lot better, right? Like it feels more visual. They have a name for it. What's it called? Perspectives, I think, is what they're calling it. And it feels awesome. So, from just how it interacts, I think that there's some really good things they're doing there. And certainly, depending on what kind of query it is, kind of going back to Jeff's original point, different queries are probably going to have a lot different types of engagement. Whereas right now, your engagement on the SERP, the search engine result page, is probably pretty static, even if you're doing a super high level query like what is Bryce Canyon, or a super long tail query like the one that we were seeing here. Like your experience in the SERPs is probably pretty static. It's just going to be pretty normal. Like what result looks the best for my use case, I'll click on that. And if I get the answer I want, I'm there. And if I don't, I'll bounce back. But here, man, it's a lot more immersive. So experience wise, that's kind of my take on it. I do like a lot of what it's doing.
Mm-hmm. So Jared, just sorry. So the question I had for Jared is, historically, Google has, not necessarily had much of a learning curve, right? It's your search, you see, you click. If you don't like it, you go find another thing and click on it. Would you see this as having a learning curve?
When you say learning curve, maybe expand on that a little bit more.
A user who is having this experience, is it clear that this is what they're going to get? Right? Is it clear that, this is, think about Clippy, the intelligent assistant. Think about, going all the way down the road to, Ask Jeeves tried to accomplish. And, the historical failures of intelligent agents. That's what, the field, and chatbots. Do you feel this is, for a person who has no idea what the letters SEO, NLG mean, and they believe that AI equals ChatGPT, which is the majority of the human race right now, does this make sense to them?
No. And I'm glad you brought it up because, again, let's actually look at ChatGPT as a bit of a monochrome for your question. ChatGPT is great provided you know how to prompt it right. And prompting it right is a whole nother science in and of itself.
Right.
And it involves me having to really actually know what I want and what inputs play a role in what I want. Like I was talking to ChatGPT this morning, I use talking with air quotes, and trying to get it to write an email for me and playing with it. And the level and the depth of information I had to give it to get significant results back was pretty high. Now, I'm not sure that when I'm Googling something on my phone as I'm running between appointments, I'm going to have the ability to utilize this type of experience to the degree I would need to get an answer I want, right? And in this fast-paced society and in this fast-paced culture, along with the way that we interact with the web right now, I don't know. I got to be honest with you. Would it be great for certain queries? Yes. Is it going to be great for the way like my wife uses Google right now? No, it's not.
Right. Right. It's really interesting because you think about, my 74-year-old mother, right? She will have no idea like what's going on behind the scenes, right? Just does Google work, right? Does she get her answer that she wanted? And even when I look at my wife, searching for things, she's not tech savvy. Like she still often doesn't know the difference between an ad and a result, and right. So even that, so adding this whole other layer of AI plus additional queries plus how do you manage, stacking, that additional queries on top of each other. It's a little bit of a learning curve. So how easy will Google make it for the basic user? I don't know. And so it may be something that, yes, they want it to be very immersive right now, but it may be it's going to end up being a very small use case, right? Like maybe it's a very small percentage of queries that actually AI really grabs hold and makes a lot of sense for. I don't know.
Here's a question I have. I mean, I guess specifically for you, Jeff, is, we've seen this experience word get added to Google's EEAT. And now we see, first in their documentation from yesterday's presentation, but also just looking at this, it's clear that they want to incorporate experience in. And yet at the same time, I look through those Bluetooth screenshots that Spencer was sharing, right? And there's so much of how we interact with the internet and the whole proliferation of affiliate websites in the first place, if we go all the way back, is we want to know what an actual person thinks of something.
Right.
And we put a significant value on what someone who we've never met before, and we have no understanding of if they're an expert or not. We put so much value on the internet and what they think. That's the whole reason affiliate websites and even niche sites really work, right? And have worked for so long, is because people don't want to hear a computer tell them, or even Amazon tell them what the best product, what the best Bluetooth speaker is for their pool. They want someone to tell them. And where does AI fail in Google's results with this internal bias that we as humans seem to have a track record of?
I think that's the best question anyone's ever asked me about this. And I just had an entire podcast, 2 of them, about this topic. And I love that question. And my response, thankfully, I've been thinking about this a lot, is I believe it creates what's called an experience paradox. And it is that the raw materials that Google wants exhibit experience and expertise so that they can inauthentically communicate something where they have no experience. And that creates this odd paradox, right? Because if I took those 3 pages about the pool party and I wrote a 3-paragraph sentence article that said, if when you're thinking about making a pool party, make sure it's waterproof, make sure that it's fun and it's small, whatever it said, right? If I wrote that article and then linked to 4 Bluetooth speakers and then referenced those 3 articles, what would they call me? They'd call me a victim of the PRU update, the product reviews update, right? Because I added no value. So they've created what I'm referencing as an experience paradox, where they want to be the one who does the things they don't want you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so 10 years from now, where's the buy-in?
Right.
Is it there or is it not? And I think you're exactly right. Like, this is, I have other questions if we get to it, like how this is possible in an IP world. I have my own opinions about that. How this is from a machine standpoint, how they can actually computationally pull this off in a cost-effective manner. I have questions about that. But do people buy in? Like Yelp works because there's 1,000 reviews on that restaurant and people like to read them. Amazon has mastered getting reviews from people and people like to read them. I'm just very curious, big picture, 10 years from now, how this is, we don't know, obviously, but it's really fun to debate.
I think you think about the human, you can think about it from history. You can use some experience and not just speculation, because what happens when inauthentic reviews, product reviews, become unprofitable? People focus on authenticity. So now Google has to, are they going to bring forth your authenticity in that summary? Or are they not? Is it going to be generalist? The examples they showed were very generalist. I think probably because they don't want to be, so scandalous, right? But is then the opportunity to make sure, above all things, you are like going over the top with your authenticity and with your experience. Like, I saw an example in this. I tweeted about it snarkily, because that's what you do on Twitter, right? Is the query was, I believe it was the best, the first constellations to learn, or something like that. And if you looked at the real Google result in your phone, it was like, there was a list of 5 constellations. It was like Oh, cool. And there's what they look like. The example with Bard was like, when you first start on your journey of constellation finding, the first thing you should do is look into the third. Like, I don't want that. I want to see Orion, and I want to see, how to look. And so it was it's comically bad when the experience does not warrant it. So is Google good at figuring that out? Heck yeah. Query deserves freshness, right? News overlap. When news should overlap and when it shouldn't, right? And then when it goes away, when the news cycle finishes. Google's good at that, so I think they're going to hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
But, gosh, how many experiences want this? And it looks like they're bringing it in soft. It's an opt-in add-on. Is this a novelty or is this truly an innovation?
Well, and like you said, and Spencer, I think we talked about it at some point in previous episodes, like there's certain queries where this does fit really well, right? Like I don't need experience, I need to know, the circumference of the moon. I just made that up. I don't know why you would need to know. I'm sticking with the constellation theme, I guess.
There you go.
I don't need to talk to someone who's been to the moon to know the circumference of the moon. I just, need the answer and we can all move along, right? So certainly we're talking about subsets of queries and yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, the other question that I think a lot of bloggers will be asking is, well, what happens to featured snippets, right? We've already got featured snippets that are giving a lot of these answers, right? The circumference of the moon or whatever other short answer, right? There's already these snippets that are happening. Do we see a reduction in featured snippets? I think that's kind of what I'm hearing, but I don't know if we know any additional details on that or not.
Yeah, my joke this morning was the not so prominently featured snippets, and that's really all it can be, and it's to say, I like this secondary question. So, yeah, if they get pushed down, they're going to be less click-through rates. But the question is, doesn't featured snippet consumption mean this other experience isn't what you're looking for? Because if I said, what's the circumference of the moon, and say it's 47, right? Okay, cool, I got it. See ya. Mm-hmm. Okay, so will it be A or B, or will feature snippet get knocked down naturally through some of these, or will Google just be experimenting with it? I think that's really my take on it is, I have problems with featured snippets. And then instant answers where answers where the answer is just like shoot you in the face, right? When they're wrong, I don't have problems when they're right? But you type in what is Artemi Panarin's salary, and it says $1 million. Sorry, Google, that's wrong. He made like 10.5 last year. He's a hockey player. I use lots of hockey analogies, okay, and that's one of a billion instant answers that are wrong on Google, right? I'm sure I'm making that number up, but so is that where people will draw the line? Is it that I'm only pissed off at it when it's wrong?
How do they know it's wrong? I don't get a negative feedback loop if I don't know that that's not his salary.
Exactly
I move along on my day, and I think he's making $1 million, and for whatever reason, my question came up. It's now been answered, and I go about my business. And there's not a feedback loop that tells me that that's wrong, and they should be held accountable, and I'm not going to use them anymore. It's like the dog that doesn't bark, almost.
It is the dog that doesn't bark. It's exactly that. So it's the difference between accuracy, authenticity, and accuracy, authenticity, authority, and those things are different. They're different problems to solve for Google. So my question is, are those four teams fighting with each other? It makes life a lot harder for Google when accuracy, authority, and authenticness, whether something's authentic. But it's the history though. EAT. I think I always talk about it backwards. It's nice for marketability, but they tried to figure out trust first, and they did it with links. They tried to figure out authoritativeness with site and site section topic matrices, and then expertise through quality assessments and QRG. and training models and to figure out hypotheses and signals and now it's how do you figure out experience is their biggest challenge. But they've walked the dog back up to that second E, and then they're probably going to have to make another letter that relates to user experience.
Before we jump into the podcast, I wanted to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Search Intelligence. Here's a short clip of Ferry from Search Intelligence showing you how their agency built digital PR links to a client's website.
In this video, I will show you how we landed a placement on BBC and dozens of links in massive regional online publications such as Wales Online, Daily Post, and many more. This PR campaign was about the easiest place to pass your driving test for the first time in the UK. This is how we've done it. We simply went to the DVLA website, found the latest car driving test data by test center, and downloaded the data in a CSV format. Once we had the data, all we had to do is to look at the number of total tests per test center, then look at the number of first time passes to calculate the percentage of people who passed their test for the first time. Once we had the percentage numbers, we created a press release with our findings. Then we went to Roxhill and found journalists who talk about driving tests, and also looked for journalists who write in regional publications in the UK. In total, we have found about 1,800 journalists and sent them our press release by email. Within less than a day, our story got picked up by BBC, Cornwall Live, Wales Online, and dozens of other publications in the UK, providing our client a tsunami of backlinks perfectly relevant to the audience of the client, who is a specialist in learner driver car insurance. I hope this video is helpful and it shows you how you can also build links with freely available data from official sources.
If you want similar link building PR campaigns for your website, head to search-intelligence.co.uk and get in touch with them now. Okay, I have to ask this question, get it out there. Sorry, Spencer, if I'm hijacking your next question, but
It's all good.
ads, right? So ads are the sole motivator for Google. At the end of the day, that's where they make their money. When I say sole motivator, I mean everything about user experience, authenticity, all this stuff drives at, we want to be X, Y, and Z to keep people on our platform, to serve ads, and that's how we make our money. I didn't see anything at all or much at all about ads yesterday. And how do ads work their way into this? Because that's really the primary thing that Google has to pay attention to, right?
Well, isn't that even more exhaustively the experience paradox that I just described, right?
Yes.
What if the JBL pool thinger was a sponsored ad? That would be even worse of a penalty.
Big time.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, it was don't do what Donnie don't did, right? It's that's what that's what they're doing, and so how do they weave ads into that? How do they weave ads into that without? I mean, they've created so many potential problems for themselves with this, and so has Microsoft. Microsoft said they don't care about creating problems with themselves because they're just trying to win market share. But this is the big dog.
I was going to say the underdog is always allowed to fight dirty, but
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. The other side of that, right, is display ad network, right?
Right.
All the ads, that bloggers have, Mediavine, AdSense, all these ads we have on our websites. I think the question that people have are, am I going to get a lot less traffic now to my website? Am I going to make as much money on display ads? Is Google sort of cannibalizing, right? They're not going to be sending as much traffic to blogs, and so therefore they're not going to have as big or as active a display ad network. And I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, that's, I think, what people listening are like, should I keep blogging? Like, is my traffic just going to be on Google and not coming to my site? They're going to scrape my site. They're going to show that, hey, this is the best speaker that I recommended. Nobody's going to come to my site anymore.
I think casual blogging becomes hard to justify if you're trying to make money on it. Almost like, I know it has been for a while, but you've really got to take a strategic approach, almost superhuman approach, to cover things extremely comprehensively and through the lens of expertise and experience in order to actually make a business out of it. I think that's been where the puck's going, and it's really there. You can't just casually blog and expect that money is going to make money, because what you saw a wave where there was casual blogs that got layered with monetization, right? And that world, because what was monetization? It was like light product reviews, affiliate links. It's not something that's going to progress and have longevity. So you do have to have kind of a purpose-driven intent to build, and then to your other point about AFC, AFS, like AdSense for search, AdSense for content, huge display network programmatic. Not a lot of talk about those things, but you're the I call it light RB and dark RB. The light RB is display network. The dark RB is multi-click parking pages. I think the people who are probably shaking in their boots are the dark RB right now. So if I was in dark arbitrage, where I'm dependent on multi-click sequences where one of those clicks in the middle was a Google ad link. I don't want to be your banker right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So there's certainly a lot of changes. Here's my thoughts, I guess, for bloggers, because I know people that are like, I'm quitting blogging. Like, AI's here. Like, everyone's going to have their own AI assistant. Google's kind of moving one step a little bit closer to that, right? And then, of course, on the other end, nothing's changing. I think things are changing, evolving, but from what I'm seeing right now, based on my best guess, is that, hey, there's probably going to be less featured snippets now. They're either getting pushed down or, it's just going to be an AI, result, assisted answer. But kind of the more we talk and what I've heard so far, like, there's going to be a lot of queries where just AI is not going to be involved, right? I don't know what percent that is. Hopefully it's a high percent, and your niche is in a niche that, hey, you just don't need to maybe worry about this right now. Yeah. But always, and this has always been true, but it will continue to be more and more true, is that you need a multi-prong approach. If the only place you're getting traffic is Google, that's troublesome. You need to implement email marketing. You need to implement social media. All these other strategies of where your audience is, you need to be there. You need to be providing content. And then you get loyal, active followers that are on your blog. You still will blog. So I don't know where that needle is, but that's sort of some of my thoughts.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. That the most, my perspective is that the most important person in the room now, if you are thinking about quitting blogging, is the subject matter expert editor. Some of those manual tasks that might have made your business run worse are now fast trackable. So you can speed up a lot of your efficiency death and ideation with data, real data to power that ideation. Development of common content operations holes, things, outline generation, those types of concepts, giving you ways, speed all those up, keeping the human in the loop to make sure that you're putting out the best product possible. That was always the goal of NLG from an editorial perspective. It was to say, I can put natural language generation. I'm an acronym salad if I don't catch myself. So it was to say, today I can publish 6 articles that I believe are beautiful. Well, tomorrow, if I can publish 8 articles that I believe are beautiful, right? That's an improvement. If I publish 10 mediocre ones, it's not an improvement. So make sure you have your eyes on that the end result needs to be, if it's more at or better quality, and then you can really, really make a business justification. And that's where I think, but if you're AI resistant, you're obsolete. You're already obsolete, and if you don't want to play in this game, you should find other work.
Yeah. I love that you brought up the other side of the coin, right? Is that, yeah, AI is scary, but it can also be very helpful, right? So if you're willing to embrace it as a blogger, it can speed up a lot of the processes, right? That you mentioned. And I know, of course, MarketMuse, your tool, is implementing a lot of these ways to help people do some of those things. So,
Hey, Spencer, do you
Yeah.
remember when the Penguin update came out?
do I ever? Yeah. Yeah.
I
got
remember a
that.
very famous blog post from you on that.
Yes,
Link-
back in the day.
Link building as we knew it forever changed. Links forever changed, right? And we thought, the days of easy link building were gone.
Right.
I mean, that was what, 2012, right?
Probably
I mean,
10 years ago.
over 10 years ago, 11 years ago, that it was like in droves. It felt like people quit. I'm out. I'm going back to the workforce. So
It's over.
yeah,
Website building as we know it is over. I remember those days, right?
and website building as we knew it was over.
Was over,
right?
exactly.
We just
and the game
adapted.
changed, and the game got harder. And some people packed their bags and left, and others knuckled down, figured out, and grew bigger businesses than ever before. And we got rid of a lot of the spammy people who were just taking advantage of easiness, and kept some of the people who still knew how to do spammy stuff, but also kept people who were able to work hard and figure it out, right? And I'm not equating AI to Penguin before the comments go nuts, but we never, there's a great quote by Bill Gates, like, we always underestimate the change that's going to happen in the next 10 years and overestimate the change that's going to happen in the next year or two, right? And so, it's healthy to remind ourselves we've had landscape changing moments in search and in SEO, and this is certainly one of those. Is blogging as we know it dead? High level, obviously not. But is writing about the circumference of the moon dead? Maybe.
Early stage awareness content. If you live and breathe by early stage awareness content, and this is coming from the guy who used to manage whatis.com, early stage awareness content is in deep trouble.
Right.
Early stage awareness content that doesn't add unique value. If your article just says the word Bismarck on it, for what's the capital of North Dakota, it's not providing value, and you're not, those pages are so at risk.
Right.
And publishers need to really take note about that they actually need. The sad part about this is, because of the way Google works, they actually need to write that article with the knowledge that it likely won't rank.
I was going to ask about that. So,
Or
sorry.
won't get traffic. It will rank.
Right.
Yeah, they have to build it. They have to build that part of the cluster. It likely won't yield the same KPI as it used to, or that is their KPI for their business. And man, that's hard to convince a client to do. You have to spend the money to write that. And if you don't, you have gaps. And that's then the same story. Google goes down the funnel, right? So they're going to go down the funnel into buying behavior, like you saw. So now you got to write your own top Bluetooth speakers for the pool party, but it might not get as much stuff. Okay, then what's next, right? I thought the most important slides from that presentation were the Palm 2 fine-tuning ones. And if you don't know what fine-tuning is, basically you take a large language model and you tune it to know more about some specific thing. They showed two examples, one with medical knowledge and one with, I forget what the other thing was. And that becomes a little bit, like, okay, that's where the puck's really going, is Google is going to think about ways that they can fine-tune models. Maybe they fine-tune the way that local works, or maybe they specifically focus, local pack tuning. Maybe they have a separate model for each region, or each state, or each city. Like the possibilities are endless of how this is going to be tuned, or how this is going to be, shown to you. And that, to me, is what my takeaway is really focus on subject matter expertise, really focus on optimizing your operations and making great decisions. Because if you build 100 articles that have no chance of performing, I don't care how fast you did it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many fascinating changes, updates coming out from the Google I/O event yesterday, and lots for people to think about as affiliate marketers, as bloggers, And then just users of Google, we'll be watching how that impacts how we do our searching. But Jeff, I want to thank you for coming on. You've got a wealth of experience and knowledge in this area. So Jared and I just felt like, we need a real expert to kind of unpack all of this, and you've done just that. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Spencer. Thanks, Jared. It's been a pleasure. Niche Pursuits does such a good job with so many different things, and just showing people the way, showing people the how-to, and then backing it up. So I always appreciate working with you, and Jared. It's been really a pleasure. Go check out MarketMuse. We have a free offering right now. It's actually on a reverse trial, so you get 7-day access to our standard offering for nothing. Then it goes and downgrades to free. So go check that out.
Awesome.
There's a 15% code on the site as well. So don't miss that opportunity while it lasts. As many people have said, sometimes those deals disappear. But it's really awesome. We have a site level cluster analysis feature inside the standard offering right now that, it's 10 hours of work every time you hit the button. And that to me is a beautiful thing. So thanks again, Jared and Spencer. I'm going to sign out and go build some content plans. See ya.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jeff.
Bye.
All right. Awesome. That was great. That was such a good discussion with Jeff. He's brings, like I said, a wealth of knowledge and just knows so much that's going on as it relates to search.
I had a couple of AI acronyms ready to go, but I would not have been able to keep with his level of AI acronyms. So
he's really just getting started.
I bet.
There's.
I can only imagine what Costa Rica must have been.
Let me tell you, late nights. A lot of fun. So, let's maybe move on from the news to something a little lighter. As we do. So, we're going to cover 2 final segments here in the show, and we'll maybe make them a little quicker because we've already, spent most of our time. But quick side hustle updates, got our shiny object shenanigans, and then weird niche sites. So if you don't mind, I'll go first with my update.
I saw a little teaser your update. It's very exciting. I want to talk more about it. Go.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about my YouTube channel. So this is a Faceless YouTube channel that I've done. I'm basically working with a partner. He does all the work. I'm investing some money, and it's done really well. The last update, I don't remember. We had hit 1,000 subscribers. We had gotten monetized. I don't know that I had shared much beyond that. But now, and I'm going to share my screen. I got some screenshots. We got monetized. We had paused creating videos for a while to get the monetization all figured out. Did a few different things. And I think this is going to be the right one to share. Yes, here we go. Look at these earnings. The last day that it's showing here, earned $143.92, which is actually slightly down from the previous day. I think it was just shy of 150 or maybe just over 150. So we've now had 3 days in a row that earned over $100 for a day. The total subscribers is now something like 1,800, almost 2,000. And we are now back to publishing about 1 video per day. Is what we're going to do. And let's see, I've got one other screenshot that maybe people would find interesting. So most of the views and the earnings is coming from one particular video that is just kind of going viral. It's an older video, believe it or not, one that we published maybe a month ago, and it's really just caught fire. But the new videos that we are publishing are actually doing decent. So this just shows, May 9th, right, which is 2 days ago. It's already got almost 3,000 views. May 8th, almost 2,000 views. You can kind of see. So some videos are doing decent. Others, not so much. One that was April 28th only got 300 views so far. But so one video is definitely accounting for 90% of the earnings so far. But we only predicted, we did some projections. We only expected and hoped that for the entire month of May, we would make $80. That was the plan, right? We had these projections that by the end of the year, maybe we're making $3,000 a month, and we'd be happy with that. But clearly, in the month of May, it's like $500 in earnings already. So absolutely thrilled. It's going well. We've published 32 videos, I think, and got another about 30 in the hopper that'll start coming out about once a day. And then hopefully by that point, the channel is self-sustaining. All the money we make will just get plowed right back into videos.
Are these, we'll call it current event kind of things? Are these, you talk about a video going viral, and I think, like, is it something that's very timely? Or are these videos, more something that you'd expect them to continue to get views over time?
These are not news or current event type videos. So absolutely these can give views over time. The one that's going, viral, getting all the views is, no, it's not newsworthy of any kind.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
I mean, the question I would have if I'm listening right now, and so I'll ask it, but it might be the subject for maybe a future podcast episode. Like, man, I'm dying to know like the costs of how each of these videos kind of plays out, and how long are they? And I mean, I saw on the right of your screen share just now, like you're getting likes, 100% ratings. Like these aren't the things we think of when we think of a faceless YouTube channel. We think like, well, it'll get the job done. And, so I just have so many questions about how much it's costing, and how you're doing such a good job with making people engage and like it. So it's really, man, there's so many like detailed questions.
Yeah. No, and happy to share. I don't know. At some point, I probably just need to do a whole video. I'm actually getting a lot of questions about this. Just need to do an hour-long type thing because it's getting interesting now. I didn't think it would get interesting until like 6 months from now. But hitting $100 in a day is like, oh, okay, something's going well. But just big picture wise, the initial plan was to invest $10,000 into this channel. We'll have probably 90 videos with that $10,000 to give people a rough estimate of cost there.
$100 a video,
right? Yeah, ish on that. And so, we're good for a couple of more months of just publishing at about a video a day. And at that point, like I said, it should just grow on itself. But more than happy to share. I won't share the channel itself, but other than that, I'm a pretty open book. So we'll keep chatting about it on these, or maybe come back for
like we said.
One, so.
At some point, our shiny objects have to move their way into full-fledged businesses, and I think both of ours might be nearing that point.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's hear about yours. What do you got going on, Jared?
Launched a free tool within the last week. That's the kind of biggest update.Email's still going out. We're on week 10. I'm now tracking it because I said 12 weeks to hit 1,000 subscribers. I think we're up to like 1,250 or 1,300 subscribers now. So that's kind of going on its own now, and it's starting to get followers or subscribers from other channels other than just Twitter. So that's great. But the big thing this week was launching a free tool. And I'll kind of spill the beans. I've only launched it on my Niche Pursuits podcast. So I haven't actually sent it out to anybody on the email list. I haven't shared it on Twitter yet. The only way you can find it is by listening to the full hour of my interview with you on the Niche Pursuits podcast. So, but it's already gotten several hundred downloads just from that alone. And you've talked about it over the years a lot. Like probably the best lead generator you've ever had is some sort of free tool. I think you've said many times, and that's clearly playing itself out. Like I've tested with a case study that did well, but it didn't really pick up any steam on its own. And in this case, the free tool has so far been, in terms of conversion rate, the highest. And so I'm looking forward now. Got some feedback, hopefully working out some of the kinks, and then looking forward to kind of sharing that on a larger platform in the coming weeks, into the email, on Twitter, and in other channels as well.
Yeah, I love it. It's like a win-win here that we can mention. Not only is your free tool doing well, but if you want his free tool, you got to go listen to his podcast interview, which helps out Jared, helps out Niche Pursuits podcast. So go listen to that episode, and you can get his free tool there. So that's fantastic. I love hearing the results that are coming from the podcast because a lot of times it's very hard to track, results from the podcast. Even though I get download numbers, I get view numbers, you don't always see how many people are actually taking action and going to do that, because it's hard to track a link sometimes unless there's a free, download or something like that.
Yeah, and like you said, I am literally just the host of the podcast. I don't know the numbers on how many people listen or watch to different things. I'm sure if I asked you, you'd tell me, but I don't know how many people have listened or watched the podcast. But several hundred opt-ins to a free tool from something that's a week old, an interview, seems very good, right? Like, so clearly it's an engaged audience. And you talk about product market fit, like it certainly seemed to apply to a lot of the people that were listening and stuff. So it's nice to see A equals B, like causal action, reaction, results from something like that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Very good. So we got maybe another 10 minutes here. Hopefully people have stuck around this long, because this is where it gets a little weird. We have our one weird niche where we talk about a weird niche site that we've come across recently. And I'll go here. This one is, again, just sort of fascinating with how niche it is. So let me share my screen so that people can see it here. And this one is Western mining history. So it's not a site about mining. It's not a site about just mining history. No, it's only the Western United States mining history. So here's a map on the homepage, right? It just covers, it looks like, these 5 or 6 states: Utah, Nevada, Wyoming, Idaho, and a couple others. Which, back in the Wild West, there was a lot of old mining towns going on. And this website covers all of that. The content, the maps, the stories, anything that goes along with Western mining history. You can find it here at westernmininghistory.com. And so if we look at Ahrefs, you can see that, it gets a little bit of traffic through Google search, right? It's not like crushing it or anything, but if we look at
that DR there.
Yeah, well, sorry. As soon as you said that, of course, I changed
No,
it.
it's fine. DR, I think I said 59. I mean, that's for a Western mining history website, that's a pretty powerful DR.
Yeah, not bad at all. So it's got some legit links pointing to it, and then it's getting traffic from some keywords that people can see on the screen here. A lot of things related to probably old ghost towns, mining towns, things that are related to that. But if we take a look at SimilarWeb, we can see that overall the site is getting approximately about 100,000 visitors a month. It says 81,000 here. So it may be getting up to 100,000 visitors a month, which is not bad. It's getting enough traffic clearly to be monetized with Mediavine ads, which I see the little Mediavine logo when I look at the ads down here.
Yep.
And the other thing that I found fascinating about this site is that it charges members. It has a members area, and you can become a member. You can get, become a gold member. You can get the website free of ads. You get to access to members-only content. You get members journal, monthly newsletter, access to Minds Explorer Pro, which I don't know what that is. Maybe it's a software tool or something similar. So, gosh, it's a really fascinating niche. There are a lot of people that still go out and either do metal detecting at old ghost towns, right? Or just like to follow the history, do research. And I don't know, do people vacation and visit old mining towns? Maybe.
I bet there's mining trips and tours and, all that kind of stuff. I can only imagine.
Yeah. So there you go. That's my weird niche site, is Western mining history.
I wonder how many people are in the membership, right? I didn't see a ton of information on pricing, but I think it said starting at $5 or something. And
yep, $5 a month.
They have more, but I mean, at 100,000 visitors, a month. Currently there are over 100 members only articles. Oh, that's the number of articles.
Just the number of articles. Yeah.
Yeah. So, volume 5 of the Members Journal was published in March 2023. So maybe it's a new sort of thing, but man, coming off the back of that whole AI conversation, I mean, this concept of building a brand, memberships, community, without trying maybe for you to do that, you really brought a good example for us to kind of think through all the information we just processed.
That is a great point. Absolutely. Community is always going to be important and more important going forward. So,
well, my niche site, I don't think you can build a community around, but we'll have to see if you think otherwise.
All right, here we go. Let's share your site now.
Penvibe.com. If you're wondering, that is a website all about writing pens.
Penvibe. I love the name.
Because, when you think of pens, vibe is clearly the word that you associate with pens.
Does it vibe with your personality? You got to have the perfect pen.
So at first glance, this is not a good looking site. It's the most basic site you could have. I mean, I didn't have time to check, but it looks like you're out of the box Gutenberg, like Generative Press without a theme really even added onto it, right? It's like just a standard. Oh yeah, I recognize that looks like a standard Generate Press.
Real basic.
Super basic, right? With nothing else. If we go look over in like an Ahrefs, right? It gets what did I say? It was a DR32.
Here, I'm sharing this now. Yeah, it looks like a DR32, 7,000 organic traffic.
I mean, you look at a site like that, but I mean, it just recently surged in the March and the April 2023 updates, right?
Yes, it did.
Almost doubled its traffic. And again, it wasn't like a keyword change. So Google just all of a sudden said, hey, what they've been producing, we used to rank them on, say, page 2, and now we're cramming them right up to the top. They have the featured snippet for how long is a Bic pen. Speaking of search queries that might not exist any longer, but why would anybody want to know that? Well,
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Yeah.
In what world do I need to know how long a Bic pen is? I mean, I don't know, but it's a pretty popular search term. They've nailed the featured snippet here. Some of them it's monetized by ads, so we see that. Certainly there's lots of buyer intent, like best pencils for writing. They're ranked number 5 for best permanent marker for outdoor use. They snagged the featured snippet in the update. They are now number 1 for best permanent marker for outdoor use. Hey, when I work around the house and I have to go out and mark stuff to make cuts or something, I'll admit, the standard Sharpies aren't always doing it. So, penvibe.com is my source for the answer here.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, it's kind of a standard affiliate play. They got Ezoic ads. They've got some buyer guides. They've got some really, but again, it's bare bones. It's nothing elegant. And so one thing I wanted to point out is if we start kind of poking around at this site's history, because when I first landed on this site, actually, I landed on a URL that was, let's see, I have it right here, penvibe.com/370.
Yeah, which I think I'm sharing that.
Is that the one that's up right now?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And, it says at the top there that article was released on October 1st, 2009.
Oh, wow.
My first thought was like, and again, when I was looking for this niche site, this is the article I found. So it's in the SERPs, it's ranking, and it's 9 unusual pens for those who aren't able to see the screen or listen on the podcast. And so I started thinking about an article that's been around since 2009, sends me down the rabbit hole, right, as we do. And so I went back to Ahrefs and I looked and I saw that this site didn't start picking up keywords until, from what we could tell, 2018. I went to archive.org. And if you go to archive.org and kind of look at the site's history, it really didn't start picking up traffic until much later on, right? Until
this
2023.
Blip. Yeah.
But this article says it was out in 2009, and so I'm just very confused by this site's history. I'm sure that we do deep dive stuff like this at our agency, but I know from having done that a lot, this would require some hours. Which I didn't have for the podcast analysis, but some interesting history to this site. Maybe somebody who is bored on a Friday afternoon and wants to deep dive it and post in the comments might be able to tell us what's going on with this. But I thought that was interesting as well.
Yeah, the only thing that I can think here is archive.org's pretty good. So I don't think it existed, and before, I guess 2021 is the earliest it shows up.
Could they have just messed up and put 2009 instead of 2019 or something on the date published?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, if they tried to update a post and like typed in 09 instead of, I don't know what they were trying to type.
Why
it looks
0? It feels like an old website was kind of maybe brought onto it or something. I mean, it just has all these weird things going, right?
Yeah, a lot of weird stuff going on. You're right. Maybe there was a redirect from an old website that was written in 2009, right? And that site, of course, would have been on the Wayback Machine, but not this one.
Let me look that up really quick. Who knows, right? But and
really,
again, half the reason Spencer and I just kind of spitball with all this stuff here. By the way, it does have a redirect pointing to it, tigerpens.co.uk. So maybe we should pop that into archive.org, tigerpens.co.uk. Half the reason Spencer and I spitball on this kind of stuff is, again, we've said it before, but like hopefully it just gives you idea. There it is.
I think you found it. Goes back to 2009.
Sometimes talking it out just helps, right?
Yeah. I think that's it.
There it is. Yanked the content from tigerpens.co.uk and pulled it over. As you can see, that site goes dark in 2023, which is when penvibe.com hit the market. Anyways, half the reason we do this is, these might be things that help you out as you're exploring niches or analyzing your own niche site. And sometimes you're like, I never thought about looking at it from that standpoint. I never thought about that angle, or I never thought about asking that question. So we do it for you. Probably for most of you, you're thinking, why bother? But, hopefully for some people, it helps kind of spark some interest or some different things and different ways to look at niche sites,
Yeah, absolutely. Now you got me looking at this site. I'm looking at everything. Good example. We got a fun little redirect that unexpectedly we had to research and hunt down. So great example here. And yeah, I agree that we bring these up. Not only are they fun for us, but hopefully for listeners to either learn something or just spark new ideas, right? You can create a niche on just about anything that's out there. A niche site. Yeah, there absolutely is. So thank you, Jared. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This has been a big one, talking about all the Google AI updates. I'm sure we'll have more to talk about next week, so stick around for next week's podcast on that. And Jared, you have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, Spencer. Been fun. I don't think this topic's going away, the AI one. So we'll be here to talk about it every week. And thanks everyone for listening and participating as we all go through this together,
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Today's episode is sponsored by Search Intelligence. Here's a short clip of Ferry from Search Intelligence showing you how their agency built digital PR links to a client's website.
What a masterpiece PR link building campaign. With 20 links in big publications such as The Sun, Express, Mirror, Wales Online, and still landing, I would say this campaign is a massive success. We told the press that people should turn on their heating this summer if they want to save money next winter. And we landed over 20 links in national and regional UK publications for our boiler client. That's crazy. The campaign hook was pretty clever. It is a known fact, at least in the boiler trade, that if you keep your boiler off for many months, it might rust and it might get you into trouble if you keep it turned off from spring to next winter. We therefore advise the press, with an expert commentary piece, on behalf of our boiler client, that people should turn on their boilers this summer just when the heat wave is in full swing. This way they can avoid a boiler failure next winter and save money. Massive publications picked up our story, including The Sun, Express, Mirror, Wales Online, and a few more dozen publications, giving our client links, lots of links, and lots of happiness hormones. No wonder that so many journalists covered our story, as this headline is a massive link magnet to their audience. This case study highlights the fact that a clever hook can be applied to any insight or story to make a campaign more successful and more compelling to journalists. Can you imagine when people see this headline in the news, you should turn on your boiler this summer? There's no way they would not click on it. I would click on it. So So this was the hook, and this is why this campaign was so successful. I hope this video inspires and shows you what's possible with a clever hook.
If you want similar link building PR campaigns for your website, head to search-intelligence.co.uk and get in touch with them now.